Hello everyone and welcome to Mountain Lake Journal. I'm Tom Halleck. We begin the week with a recap of Vote 2025 and one of the major races from Election Day, with Michael Cashman, the projected winner in the special election, to fill the seat given up by longtime State Assemblyman Billy Jones in the 115th Assembly District here in the North Country. Still, unofficial results from Election Day have Cashman, the Democrat, and longtime town supervisor in Plattsburgh, defeating Republican Brent Davison. Davison, the former Troop B commander of the New York State Police in Raybrook and a 30-year veteran of the state police, retired in September to run for the open seat. Cashman will be sworn in this month to fill the seat.
The election results are completely tallied, and it looks like we came up a little short. The voters have spoken. I want to thank everybody who supported me throughout this campaign. My wife and family, the county chairs that endorsed me, all the voters that voted for me, the people that knocked on doors, that went to events. I had an incredible amount of support, and I want to thank everybody for supporting me.
Now, finally, to the great people of the 115th District, thank you for the privilege to serve you as your next Assemblyman, and I'm humbled to have earned the trust and the support of the voters. But I want to be clear and leave one final message for everyone. I don't care if you are a Democrat, if you are a Republican, if you are a working families member, an independent, or didn't even vote. It is important that we face the challenges together and that we build solutions together. Today, we must change the way we treat one another.
And Assemblyman-elect Michael Cashman joins us now. Congratulations on your election win.
Thank you. It's always great to be with you, Tom.
Do absentee ballots still need to be counted? Any idea when that will happen? I mean, that won't have any impact on the final tally, though, right?
No, the mechanics of the election will still move forward with the Board of Elections, but we're already having conversations with members down in the Assembly and putting things in motion to make sure that we can really start on day one once we get, when I have the opportunity to take the oath of office. And
when will you be sworn in as the new Assembly member?
Yeah, I'm anticipating right now that it will be next week. We're still working out some of the logistics, but potentially as early as next Thursday.
And you've already heard from the Assembly Speaker, Carl Hastie. How did that conversation go?
Very good. I've had an opportunity to meet the Speaker a number of times when he's come up to the North Country. We're already talking about priorities. He acknowledges that we want to work on affordability, we want to work on safety, we want to make sure that we're planning and protecting our future. He was very gracious and looking forward to get to work. Most concerning in this district right now is the HALT Act.
You said in the debate that we hosted here last month that there were a number of issues where you and the Democratic majority and the leadership disagree. Did you discuss any of that, or will that come up and come out in the weeks and months ahead?
Yeah, it was a brief conversation to start, but I certainly expect that we'll be getting into a lot of substance over the course of the next several days, weeks, months, as we move forward.
And have you heard from the governor's office?
I have. Yep, I spoke with the governor. Will tell you, though, that she and I did talk about the HALT Act, and that was one of the first things that I said. That's a red line. That's an issue for me. Prison closures are an issue for me. So she knows where I stand, and I anticipate that we'll be having many more conversations as well.
What about your current job? Will you step down now as Plattsburgh Town Supervisor?
Yeah, I'll be stepping down in the next couple of days, trying to put a bow on some of the projects that we've been working on over at the town of Plattsburgh in my role as town supervisor. And I anticipate that my deputy supervisor will step up, for a period of time, and he'll make a determination whether or not he runs for the vacancy that's being left behind.
You need a district office. Will that be based in Plattsburgh?
Yes, I plan to continue having the same office that Billy had, as Janet had, right there on the Oval. And just because the office is in Plattsburgh, I just want to let everybody know throughout the district that we're going to have a four-wheel district office. It's called My Car. car, I'll be getting out to all four corners like we did during the campaign.
And what about staff? Have you already started hiring staff?
I've not started to hire staff, actually. Having some conversations with individuals, but that is, some of the mechanics that we're talking about. I need to get down to Albany, have some conversations with the HR team down there, get a budget, identify some things, but I am having some conversations with individuals.
You just mentioned the HALT Act. Are there pressing issues that you really want to get to?
Yeah, people have heard me throughout this entire campaign. It's about affordability. It's about safety. It's about planning for our future. All the things that I've talked about for the last 2 months are the things that we want to roll up our sleeves and advance. So I'm preparing to do that. As a assembly member elect, I've already taken some meetings. The first one was over at the Fitzpatrick Cancer Center here in Plattsburgh yesterday. Rural healthcare is under attack. I want to hold the line to the best of our ability. The North Country and rural America does not get its fair share already. We have to protect that infrastructure. And then we also need to be, working to protect our seniors, making sure that we're protecting our correction officers, making sure that we're finding opportunities for people to be fed. I mean, SNAP is under attack. And I'm really glad from the state to even county leadership, people have stepped up and citizens at large. We need to take care of our North Country neighbors.
We talked about this during the debate. Should the state step in to fill those cuts, as well as you were talking about the Medicaid cuts in health care? There is a $40 billion surplus, and State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli says the state's finances are in good shape, the state taking in billions more in tax revenue. How should the state step in and try to compensate for these cuts?
Yeah, no New Yorker should go hungry, Tom. I mean, and there's many other programs, so we have to be strategic in delivering those monies that protect New Yorkers. And I think it's really deplorable that the way that our federal government is designed, that these programs aren't being taken care of. No one should go unhoused. No one should go unfed. Our veterans should be taken care of. I would call on the federal government that the next time that they're working on codifying things, that we make sure that these programs are always funded, even if there is a funding gap, right? I'm firmly in a position that we should be using resources to protect New Yorkers.
And is the stand-up for the Trump administration likely to continue beyond the government shutdown? And is there a limit? You've talked about this before. Is there a limit to what the state can do?
Oh, there's certainly a limit. Resources. We are not going to tax our way out of things, but I will say that people should be paying their fair share. We have companies that have employees that are in need of many of the resources, and they're not paying their fair share into the system. So we have to look wide-eyed, reasonably, and to come up with ways that we can make sure to have the resources. Again, we're talking about food, we're talking about healthcare, we're not talking about just giving free things to everyone, but there are common sense, common dignity items that we should be fighting for.
And is that priority one right now, addressing the cuts to these programs?
I think it's oversimplistic to be talking about just one priority. We have to work in parallel motion on many, many things. There are many needs, but that is certainly one of them.
Higher health care costs. If the subsidies under the Affordable Care Act are eliminated, does that impact thousands of families here in the North Country?
It will be devastating in the district, and that's why we need to make sure, as state representatives, that we're articulating the impact at the local level. One of the things that I loved about being town supervisor, and it will be the same as an assembly member, is we're the closest to the people. We hear how things are impacting people at their kitchen table. And we know that there is a lot of concern from seniors and families about what could happen to rural health care.
You've heard from a lot of people worried this coming winter about their electric bills and rising energy costs. Higher rates have been approved for the utilities. So what can be done? What can you do as a state assemblyman now to try to help families that are struggling to pay their bills?
One, we need to make sure that the programs that are there to support families are funded, and that we're getting allocations for support, like HEAP are there. In addition to that, what we need to do is to make sure that we're putting guardrails on the Public Service Commission moving forward. We also need to make sure that companies like NYSEG can't be charging these ridiculous add-on fees in addition to their electric fees. So there's some common sense things that we can do, and then we need to continue to punch above our weight.
It sounds as if in recent days, Governor Hochul is open to discussing extending some of the mandates that are part of the climate change law passed in 2019 that are requiring, for example, school districts to buy electric buses, and that will limit the use of gas stoves and heating in the coming years. Is that something that needs to be revised? Are those deadlines too tight, too pressing, too costly?
They're unrealistic. But I'll say this, Tom. I haven't met a person yet that doesn't want a clean and healthy environment. That's not what it's about. It's about approaching this in a realistic way. We simply do not have the electric grid in the North Country to be able to address some of these goals, right? People here in the North Country cut wood to heat their homes for safety, not for comfort, right? So we need North Country carve-outs for some of these goals to make sure that we can continue to meet objectives, but we are not putting people out in the cold either.
Is the school bus mandate to have an entire fleet converted to zero emissions by 2035 happening too fast?
Absolutely. It's the electric grid. It's the cost of the vehicles. It's the infrastructure that needs to go in to charge the buses. It is, I mean, I've even heard from individuals that some of the smaller bridges that these buses need to go on may not really provide for the weight bearing for them. So there's a lot of conversations that need to occur in regards to these goals and objectives through the lens of the North Country. And we're going to be having a tour with superintendents and a number of other individuals so I can bring that best information down to Albany.
President Trump defended the tariffs that he's slapped on Canada and many other countries. It doesn't seem the president has any intention to drop or lower tariffs. You've seen the drop in crossings at the border, the loss of tourism. You've heard from how angry Canadians are about the state of relations with the U.S. Governor Hochul has expressed her concerns, but what else can state lawmakers and the governor do? As an assemblyman, how can you deal with this?
Yeah, we need to continue to be a champion of our region and not shying away from this difficult situation. We also need to have international relations. As town supervisor, we built a relationship with Cornwall. As the assemblyman for the district, I would love to continue the work of the task force, the Canadian task force. But we also need to make sure that we're telling the stories of our local businesses. And what I would say to President Trump is, come to the district and hear from the hotel people, and hear from the restaurants, and hear from the golf courses. He's a big golfer. Come to some of the golf courses and see what that impact is right here on the district. So it's not just about the stock market. It's about the impact of rural America that he often says that he is looking out for. In this case, he is doing damage.
Billy Jones was the chair of the task force on New York and Canada relations. Would you like to take over as the chair?
I certainly would like to take over as chair or co-chair or be a member of the task force, and I'm very hopeful for that. That
task force, is it making any headway in bolstering trade and relations between our two countries despite the tariffs, despite the trade war and the tensions between U.S. and Canada?
That task force has an opportunity to be a conduit for many conversations. Everything from onboarding microbird into our region to developing new opportunities to see businesses come here into the greater Plattsburgh, as well as Franklin and Essex County, but it's also about tourism. Conversations are absolutely critical during this time where people aren't agreeing, and that task force brings the players to the table.
In the debate we hosted here on Mountain Lake PBS, you talked about areas and issues where you disagree with your own party and party leaders. You touched on repealing the HALT Act and concerns about security and staffing at state prisons. Your fellow Democrats in the Assembly and Senate were moving full speed ahead last session with reforms and taking steps to get the HALT Act fully implemented. How, being the newbie, the junior member of the Assembly, can you get your colleagues and party leaders and governor to listen to you?
Yeah, well, two things, Tom. First and foremost, either I or my opponent were going to be the most junior member.
That's true.
Okay, yeah. That's just a fact. Okay, and no one individual has a magic wand to change state government. Okay, but I'm going to be dogged in my approach to make sure that people hear what the needs and the wants are for our district. Okay, that's why I did not shy away from when the governor called to immediately bring up my concerns. Not things for collaboration, pie in the sky, things that we need to address. And I will work with my caucus to make sure that our voice in the North Country is heard. Whether it is acted upon, time will tell. But we are also a district that has many concerns and many issues. So while the HALT Act and other reforms need to occur, we also need to keep our eyes on the ball for housing and infrastructure and rural health care and many other things.